Welcome, everybody, to Den Excelsior, the mostly Marvel podcast. I'm your host, Ricky. With me, as always, is Dennis. This is episode 156, the one where we talk about
A
everything
lot
that
of
we
stuff.
missed. We
Yeah.
take 1 week off, and look what happens.
We did take 1 week off. I really was going to try and get us an episode without you last week, but it was a crammed week. It was filled with I think Friday was the plan was go watch Venom: The Last Dance, and then with a friend of the show, Ian, and then come home, and then he's got to do stuff with his kids. Like Halloween trick or treating was, I guess, last weekend for a lot of people, and they were going to do trick or treating, and then like he was like, "I'm going to be burnt out. I can't do the show," and I was like, "Well, I'm not going to do it by myself." So I was
Could have
like,
done it.
"All
I
right."
believe in you.
I didn't want to sit there, and people accuse me of yapping all the time. I don't want to be yapping.
That's
just
your
by
chance.
myself.
You could yap about Venom for an hour.
So I just said, you know what? We'll push it to next week. And oh my God, the title of this episode, just to be clear, is so long and obnoxious. It's Den Excelsior 156, and then Agatha season 1, episode 7 through 9, Penguin season 1, episode 5 through 6, and Venom: The Last Dance. And it's like that's everything we got going on.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Well, before we get into all of that, what in addition, what else have you been doing?
Well, in addition, like I've also been I finished up October for the ACBA challenge. I did that
do you
one.
win? What do you win? Or what do you
I won the pride of doing 31 days of straight
Is it the friends we made along the way scenario? Like you
well, you know what? Honestly, I have picked up a lot of followers and a lot of or I guess we have on Danix Media. Picked up a lot of followers, a lot of likes, and a lot of new people interested in the stuff we do. Also, I mean, I think there is like a cash prize, but I don't expect to win it because there are always people better than you know, at whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I just really have had a blast, like engaging with the content, looking over like everybody's submissions that they've done for the year, and then finding new people I want to follow to like, you know, learn from and stuff. So it's really fun. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool if you just go back and look at the art I did this year versus the stuff I did last year. I think there's
definitely better than your stuff that you did last year.
Thanks. I think you didn't have to laugh when you said it, but
you've gotten better. Objectively, your stuff last year is worse.
No.
Would you prefer I say that?
You know, you laughed when you said it, so that's that's a loaded answer right there, Ricky. But aside from that, I have been watching a ton of horror movies and TV shows and stuff with my wife, because we just like to do that throughout all of October. So I just rested today, man. I just kind of like I just breathed, and it's nice. It's nice. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to geek out on all this stuff we haven't talked about for 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm going to spare you my laundry list of horror stuff that I've watched in the last 2 weeks. But I will say the one gem that I completely had overlooked for many, many years was M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit. I finally watched that one. That movie is pretty great.
Which one's The Visit?
That's the one where 2 teenage kids get sent to go visit their grandparents for the first time, and they stay with them for like a week. And then the grandparents are like, "Hey, just so you know, you should probably lock the doors and like stay in your room after 9:30 every day." And it gets wild. It gets so wild. Very happy with that movie. I've turned a corner on M. Night Shyamalan,
and I can't remember.
I think you would remember it. I think you'd remember it.
Have you seen you saw the other ones, right? The beach and
I've seen the beach. I like the beach. I saw Trap last week too. That was pretty good.
Saw Trapped.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite M. Night movie?
I think The Visit. I think The Visit's my favorite M. Night movie. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. No
I,
twist. No
I like the village a
twist.
lot. It's
It's
been a
very
while since
obvious.
I saw the village.
I don't recommend watching The Village. I'm talking about The Visit. All right.
Okay.
The Visit. That's what I said.
Okay.
The Visit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways, what about you? I think you were off doing fun stuff, right?
Yeah, I was on vacation. I was vacationing out of the country with what am I saying? I had full access to the internet while I was away, so there was no excuse on why I couldn't watch stuff. The only thing actually I did watch, I watched Godzilla versus Kong on the plane. I had seen parts of that movie, like the sequel to Godzilla, what is the New Empire? I'd seen bits and pieces of that movie. I watched the whole thing. I'm happy with like where that series and franchise is. Like the original Gareth, or not the original Godzilla, but the Gareth Edward Godzilla from like 2015, right? I love that movie. I adore that movie. I know people hate that movie because Godzilla's like not in that movie at all, but it is a very beautiful film. But to have that kick off this new Godzilla franchise, and at this point they're just doing the most absurd, crazy shit with Godzilla and King Kong. I'm here for it.
I'd rather watch -1 all day.
I think -1 lives in the same art housiness as that first Godzilla movie or the
No.
Yes.
And here's why. Here's why. And I'm just gonna stop you there. It's the cultural context.
Yes, of course.
Every time Americans make a Godzilla movie, it lacks all of the cultural context, and it's just watch these things smash stuff. But like if you watch -1, that movie's about something. You know what I mean?
Yes, there's the subtext and what Godzilla means historically, and what he's an analog for is definitely not meant for American audiences. Or we just it's not our thing. But I'm happy that our flavor of Godzilla has now ran the spectrum of between some seriousness to like the goofy assness that Godzilla is now.
Fair enough. I will never like our flavor of Godzilla. I just can't. I barely like their flavor of Godzilla.
Did you like Pacific Rim?
Not so much. Okay. No.
I feel like they're now in the same like world.
I'm not a kaiju guy. Like I don't. I just don't.
I'm a kaiju guy.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything for me.
So I watched that, and then I watched. I saw the second new Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. That's a movie. It's Ghostbusters. They're back in New York, which is cool, but I don't want kids in my Ghostbusters.
I kind of don't like that movie, especially because the mayor is the guy. He's like the
he's like the bad guy. So
he's like the antagonist from Ghostbusters 2, but like,
is this the same guy?
Yes, it's William Atherton. Same actor, but like he just makes no sense like that in this movie in the context of like
those
what
darn
he's trying
Ghostbusters.
To do.
I don't like them. Like,
no, you mean the people that really saved your city twice? And it's like I felt like all of everybody in that universe has like some sort of mass hysteria, like amnesia, where they've just kind of forgotten.
Yeah, that they did this thing.
Were real, and they, I just those movies are not the movies that I would expect to see come from a world that exposed that the afterlife exists.
I hate using the term, but like a 9/11 event happens in the second Ghostbusters movie,
and the first,
and like people just don't care or remember about it.
Yeah, like what's crazy is like it's even. I would say it's technically crazier than 9/11 because, like, from a fictional point of view, I'm not saying from a realistic point of view. Okay, just don't flame me on that one, guys. But what I'm saying is, like, let's just be clear. the first Ghostbusters, I know it's a comedy. It's supposed to be a fun
Ghost
movie. Like,
floaties. Yeah.
but here's the thing: the first movie, they unequivocally proved the existence of the afterlife. like when you die, you can become a ghost and you can haunt things. Like, it's been speculated for the entirety of human history whether or not this is true. And in that movie, they categorically prove it's true, and they develop machinery to deal with that. And that somehow doesn't blow the minds of every single person on this planet. And everything that happens after in that universe just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just weird. I feel like even those Godzilla movies have a better like continuity as to like how the world has changed because of Godzilla,
Yeah.
appearing
I will say,
in that world.
if you're looking for something to watch, the Monarch show, I know I've talked about it.
Yeah.
It does a lot more of that world building, which it's wild that it exists in that same universe too, of like really grounding the fucked upness that is Godzilla and what a Godzilla attack is and what it does.
I mean, to the credit, cool. Like the thing you brought up, Pacific Rim, I think does a better job of showing you a world that responds to this event. So, right, I think the first kaiju attack in Pacific Rim takes place, and then the movie fast forwards to like 20 years later, right? And they built a whole program out of it and stuff. And people like place bets on the monsters, and it's kind of a whole thing that the world experiences, and you don't forget it when a kaiju shows up. You know what I mean? Like that's so like I appreciate that about the Godzilla movies too, like in King Kong.
I mean, I guess technically the first Ghostbusters is a kaiju movie.
Kinda, yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
The second one too. The second one,
like the fact that they just completely just don't like remember that stuff in Afterlife just hurts my soul. Like it makes no sense to me. So I watched Frozen Empire and I was like, cool.
I'm down for another one. It was the perfect chilling in the hotel room movie. Like I had an hour to kill or so, and like, oh, okay, this will keep me engaged. For this time.
It was definitely a background watch kind of movie for me, for sure. Yeah. But I know some people just swear by Afterlife, and I
don't hate Afterlife. I like the setting. I really did like the setting of taking them out of the city.
I'm gonna just throw this out there, and it's gonna come back later in conversation. Those are Sony movies, man. 9 times out of 10, that just is a bad omen right there. When you see Sony at the beginning of your movie, and you see an all-star cast of people, they do own that, right? They own making low quality movies with high quality actors in it. And
I wouldn't consider the Ghostbusters. Well, they look nice.
Yes, they always.
They're good looking movies.
Their movies look nice. I'm not gonna say they don't. I'm just like, don't make me list every Sony movie that's come out in the last 5 years.
The kid in Podcast, he's supposed to be Amadeus Cho, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a choice.
Was that news? Was that your news for the
day? That was. I mean, that could be some segue news. That wasn't in my news, but I did read that over the week. So,
okay, if you want, we can do news, or we could talk about whatever else you want, because like we got. It's a packed show.
We're on it. We're talking about it. I guess let's get into the news. Before we talk about everything else.
All right. We'll put a pin in that Sony movie thing, because I'll talk about that later.
I can't find the video.
Okay.
There it is. Okay. The big news coming out of this week is Marvel Television. So at the day before the Agatha finale this past week, or so I think on Monday, Marvel Television released a trailer debuting their 2025 slate. And oh boy,
2024 actually.
and 2024.
We got two more shows that I did not
expect. two more things coming our way. So before the year ends, well, I'm thinking of one more thing, but
I thought there was two.
Two. Well, one of the announcements was that Deadpool and Wolverine is coming to streaming like this month.
Oh, okay.
But we're getting What If season 3. That's the last thing we're getting this year in December. And then basically running the gamut next year is
we get January. We get something.
We get January. We're getting a Spider-Man. Then we get a Daredevil. Then
Spider-Man cartoon is like a prequel kind of. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different universe, but yes.
Oh, it's a different universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think they originally tried to tie it in, but it is a different universe. It's not the MCU.
Got it.
It's like a what if Norman was Tony in that situation versus when they first came.
All right. Okay. Because I've heard that they're and sorry if I'm jumping the gun on this, but I've heard that there are talks in Disney about possibly but bringing back the old Spider-Man 90s cartoon because of the success of X-Men. So that'd be interesting if they had two different Spider-Man cartoons.
They could do it. I think, yeah, I believe in them. But where we're at, Daredevil, Spider-Man,
Ironheart, Daredevil, yeah.
Ironheart, Eyes of Wakanda, and then we're closing out
Marvel
with
Zombies.
Marvel Zombies. Yep, Marvel Zombies, and then we're closing out with Wonder Man. Whew.
That's awesome.
So there goes our schedule for next year.
That's awesome.
Honestly, you know what's not on that list is an X-Men 93 or X-Men 97.
Yeah, that's a bummer. We had to see that coming, right? Like that show came out right after the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So that means they were already
done. I've heard the writing on the second one's done.
No, I've heard that they're going back to the drawing board on it to not use the stuff Bo DeMaio did, which is not a good idea. But if that's the case, that would explain why it's not on the slate for next year.
But I'm happy that we're finally getting Ironheart. I'm cool with Marvel Zombies, the what if spinoff. Did you see there's a Blade in that trailer?
Is there in the what if?
It's a Blade Moon Knight.
Oh, okay.
So you don't really see. You only see like this part of the eyes.
Gotcha.
But it is Blade.
By the way, that was another piece of news that came out.
That movie's not coming out next year.
That movie is not. It's taken off the slate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another one off the slate indefinitely is Armor Wars. We don't know. Everybody who asked Don Cheadle about that says, why don't you go find out and tell me? Because I have no news. That's unfortunate. That's really like an Academy Award winning actor comes to you and says, hey, I want to build a Blade franchise. And I know that might not have been in their game plan for like what they want to do.
He turned down Gordon for that role, right?
Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah, he's going to be Gordon in the Matt Reeves Batman.
Well, yeah, that's it's bonkers. It's just wild to me that they're not doing more to make Blade happen.
I think I would love the tell-all 20 years from now.
Yeah.
On what exactly happened. Obviously, the pandemic shifted things around, and then the strike shifted things around. But my gut is telling me the Jonathan Majors thing really put them in a weird corner. And also, just in general, people don't seem to be as excited about the multiverse overall story.
Also, the Eternals was the first place that we got introduced to Blade, and people hate that movie.
That movie is amazing.
I personally love that movie. I love the Eternals.
But
what are you saying? That's amazing.
No, that movie's amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm happy that you feel that way.
But the sum of all these things they seem to want to get out of this multiverse hole that they're in as quickly as possible, and stories that don't. I can see a lane where stories don't fit that mold are just like pushed aside because we got to get this multiverse shit wrapped up now.
I don't know if they're gonna wrap this multiverse shit up, because Secret Wars is literally a multiverse story.
Yeah, but you can end it there, right? Like
that's in a while, dude.
that's that's in 2 years.
That's so many things that are gonna come out in the next 2 years.
It's not that much.
We'll see, but it
and
is
then
unfortunate.
Spider-Man 4 that got announced. That's coming back. That's a 2026 movie.
Tom Holland is secured. Yeah, I've heard rumors that like Billie Eilish has been in talks with Marvel Studios about a role.
The trade sheets came out. They mentioned Robert Downey Jr. being in that movie as Doom in some capacity. So,
oh my god. I really hope this pays off for them, man. I really do, because like I am terrified that this is not going to work for them. But
hey, man, they made it this far. They're going on 20 years, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying not to be skeptical, because like, let's be honest, like I had a blast these last 6-7 weeks watching Agatha All Along. It completely turned me from a non-believer into a total believer of that show.
Yeah. I think people are some people were kind of pissed on the Wonder Man little snippet that we got, because it seems to be very different from what a Wonder Man is. But I have full faith. You get the right people in there, you have a cool story. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Like I'll say it over and over again. Marvel has the power of the retcon always at their disposal, and like that has been the success of this franchise for the last 20, or almost not 20 years, but 15 years ish, something like that. Is that they can retroactively fix any story over time, just by creating another story that mentions something that we didn't know about. So they've been doing it hand over hand and over, like, time and time again. Agatha has made me a bigger fan of WandaVision. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's cool. I know that the majority of the people out there like love WandaVision. I can't love WandaVision the way, or I couldn't love it the way most people did. But that's because I created a very toxic relationship with that show. Or it created one with me. I don't know. But I am healing now, and I'm excited to go back and rewatch that show now after all this. But that's cool. Do you got what's the most exciting thing you saw in that Disney clip, that Disney Plus clip?
Probably I guess for me it'd be the Wonder Man stuff. That was the biggest unknown. That show's been done for a minute. Ironheart, we've already seen a bit of it. I forgot what's his name? Aldrin Elrich, Han Solo. He's in Ironheart.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I totally forgot about that. But to see Yaya in the MCU was it's kind of cool. And I kind of like I living in the LA area, to have shows set here. It's kind of cool. I get a little cheesy for it.
You sound like a white person getting excited about a white movie coming out. Like,
I mean,
you know how many movies come? You know how many movies occur in LA?
Yeah, but stuff that's set here and like set in the film industry, like just really diving into the. There's a difference between filming in LA and setting your show in LA, and they're very clearly setting the show in LA.
Okay, all right.
How about you? What stood out in that little
I love that they didn't waste time and they showed us the Punisher. They just showed the Punisher in the Daredevil clip.
Oh, he was in the D23 clip.
I didn't go to D23.
Oh.
But that's what I appreciated the most, is just like, cool, we're not trying to keep this a secret at all. Like, let's just get everybody excited, because this is, and like, not only Punisher, but Kingpin had his lady back too, his wife.
It's not the same actress, but he does have.
Yes, was that not the same actress?
No, they recasted her.
Oh, that looked like her. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, well, still, it's a good lookalike.
It's not your Vanessa.
Well, if it's not my Vanessa, they got to get.
I think the world is. The Punisher skull is a damn cool logo, and we need to take it back. Damn it!
Yeah, well,
I'm tired of it being hidden.
Frank Castle is going to be great. I will say this: I don't think the improvements to the Daredevil suit were great enough so far, just from what we've seen. And I'm also getting really damn tired of not seeing two big giant letter D's on his chest. Just somebody, Tom Taylor, slap some D's on his chest. Come on, man. That's all I want. I know what I said.
He has a Taylor.
I know. And this Taylor, he has two Taylors now. We've known two Taylors for him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We've met more Taylors for Daredevil than any other superhero.
He has a closet now with little costumes. He has a yellow one and a gray one, and maybe there's one of them has some D's on it. Maybe he'll help the Punisher get one with the skull on it.
Yeah, we'll see. But no, I'm just most excited for that show, just because, like, I mean,
what's weird is they didn't announce. They're done filming part of that show, obviously, because it's coming out next year. But I don't know if it's clear that is it season 1 and season 2, or is it season 1 long break and then continues the story basically.
Yeah, aren't there like 20 episodes or something like that?
Yeah, because they signed on for a shit ton of episodes.
It's probably half. They're probably doing it in half. If we can't even get an X-Men cartoon every year, we ain't getting 20 episodes of Daredevil. That ain't happening. Not in one season. There's no way. I'd be shocked if they dropped 20 something episodes of us next year. I mean, we've got work the whole year round. If that's the case,
I think you do 10 and 10, right? 10 this year, 10.
Probably. That's what
10 pre-Spider-Man, 10 post-Spider-Man. That's the other weird part of that show. This is a work in Spider-Man New York.
Well, you could argue that Daredevil was working that New York before Spider-Man.
Could be, but I mean, New York's a pretty big place. But
no, he was, because that show came out before Civil War.
Yeah. Did you see Kamala's dad's in Daredevil as well?
I did see that. I saw that, and I thought that was kind of interesting too. I was like, okay, all right, keep being a good lawyer to all the people. I just want to know if Jennifer Walters is going to make an appearance real quick. I'm going to be pissed if we've just completely shelved. You get to do so many. I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed.
Pretty expensive.
If we've shelved She-Hulk entirely, because I freaking love her, man. I love her so much. It's still probably my favorite MCU show to date. Like, it really is. Like, it is the most accurate recreation of that comic, of any of the comics that we've had go on TV.
Another show set in LA.
Sure.
Well, we gotta see. God, we're already 30 minutes into this.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Let's just get into it. We'll kick it off. We'll talk about the Agatha.
You want me to do Venom? Let's do Venom.
You want to do Venom? All right, we'll do Venom.
All right, this is awkward. This is awkward, guys. Venom: The Last Dance. I watched it so that you guys don't have to. Not even Ricky watched it. Ricky was too busy to go watch it.
Yeah, I read my stuff. I saw my pictures.
He was too busy to go watch it.
Does he get the spider on his chest?
No, absolutely not. Never.
Is there a
And
Spider-Man in this movie?
absolutely not. Nope. Not at all.
Does Noel do Noel things?
Nope. He just sits around on a chair the whole movie.
Okay. Was it good?
Yeah, I had fun. I had fun with it. I had fun with it because it was the most absurd superhero movie I've ever seen, not counting The Mask. All right. Like, The Mask is
There
probably
was funny enough. There's like in Cancun, there's like advertisements everywhere for like a dinner show featuring The Mask. Like it's a branded Jim Carrey's The Mask dinner show.
all right.
And we didn't go, but it's on my bucket list to go down there now. And now, because I want to see like how the hell is The Mask in 2024 still pulling dinner show money?
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. But in the interest of brevity, let's go back to Venom: The Last Dance for a second. Here's my thing. Ian and I watched that movie. There is so much exposition in the first 20 minutes of that movie because they have a lot they want to do. They have so much, and they're jumping around from different characters all over the place. The movie opens with Null, which is just a weird thing because it's like, oh, here's this crazy villain that you never knew existed, and apparently he wants to conquer the universe, but he has to find the codex first, right? And the codex is like something that will be explained to us later in the movie. Don't worry about it right now. And he sends his creatures out to go find the codex all over the universe. And then we get to meet like, I don't even remember in which order we meet them, but like we meet so many characters that are not Venom in that movie. Like it's just constantly jumping from scene to scene with all these different characters. Let me make this clear. This movie is basically 5 different movies that were filmed seemingly separately and edited together to be one movie. And the most hilarious thing about it is every single different movie that's in this, the actors in it give the impression that they believe they're the main characters in the movie. So that's what makes it wild, is like you're following this doctor played by what's her name, Juno Temple, and you get to flashback to like when she was a kid. She's walking on the beach with her brother, and her brother tells her that if she ever hears thunder, to get to cover because that means lightning's coming. And then 5 seconds later, her brother gets shocked by, like, he gets killed by lightning. It actually hits her and arcs. They're holding hands, so the arc goes through her arm and kills the brother. And I'm like, okay, thanks for this info, random movie. You know your name. The name of the movie is Venom, right? Like, why are we getting this backstory on this character? And then then we're meeting this general who's like got an army of people. They're still hunting Venom. They've been hunting Venom for years now because or just a year. Because I guess this movie takes place only a year after the first movie. So we're trying to believe that Tom Hardy's the same age he was when he made that first movie. It's been a rough year for Venom, I guess, or for Eddie Brock. So this general is chasing after Venom. He's trying to find them. We catch up with Venom. Venom is still at that bar after he got multiversal, like,
brought back to the same bar.
Yeah. So that poor actor from the end of Spider-Man No Way Home is still in the movie, and we get to see the multiverse swap again. They do it again to show you. So he's in one universe, having Thanos explained to him, and then all of a sudden he gets zapped back to his universe, and he leaves a little bit of himself behind, right? It's back to this universe, and we discover that in Venom's universe, the same actor is the bartender there too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, why does this matter?
They're similar,
got long hair instead of short hair. It's really hilarious and dumb. And there's just all this crazy stuff happening, and then on top of that, we meet what's the guy who played the lizard in Amazing
Yeah,
Spider-Man?
Rice, Fife, Evans.
Stefan, yeah. We
Yeah.
meet him. He is he has a family of people like they're he's basically the worst parent ever. He's taken his kids out of school and they're going to go drive to Area 51 because apparently in this universe the government is shutting down Area 51. And this guy wants to go see if there's aliens before this thing's closed down. And meanwhile, like we learn it starts bringing stuff together, and we learn that Juno Temple's character and the general are going there to shutter Area 51, but secretly it's okay because way beneath Area 51 is their secret lab where they've been collecting symbiotes from all over.
You got to say it like Jenny Slate, symbiotes.
They've been collecting symbiotes from all over the like as they've been landing on this planet. So they got a whole collection of multicolored symbiotes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay,
And
I'm
then,
starting to
then
see
Venom stuff happens.
Yeah, and that's so that Venom stuff can happen. And so when we're not following Eddie Brock, it's kind of eye rolling. It's a little bit like, oh my God, this is a lot of setup you guys are doing. But every time we cut to Eddie and Venom, it becomes this really fun movie where you get to really experience this beautiful relationship that those two characters have. And I know they're played by the same actor, but he does really play them as two different people, and they're just, they're tired. We also learn from Venom that he is actually the Codex, because the Codex is this being that occurs when a symbiote bonds with their host, and then they die and come back to life. And when that happens, a Codex is created, and that is like a beacon for Null. And if they capture that beacon, they can use it to like take over the universe, whatever, exposition, blah blah blah. And Eddie's like, well, it's a good thing we never died and came back to life. He's like, right. Except for, remember that one time, and I guess it was in the last movie, I guess Eddie died at one point versus Carnage at some point or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's why technically they're the Codex, and Null has sent these crazy creatures to come after him called the Xenophages, because he was the father of the symbiotes, but the symbiotes rebelled against him and they imprisoned him somewhere. So he created another species of creatures that goes and hunts the symbiotes, and they can only see the Codex when they're in their full form. Mm-hmm. So basically, whenever Venom is fully Venom, they can see him from anywhere on the planet. Anywhere. Yeah. So they basically set up a premise for why you're going to get less Venom in this movie. Because
he's expensive. Yeah.
As long as, well, you think that's the premise, because as long as, he can do that little thing where he's like talking off the side of his shoulder, or he can do like a half Venom thing. But if he ever becomes full Venom, then he lights up like a Christmas tree, like all over the planet, right? So you're like, okay, cool. I guess we're going to get less Venom in this movie. Nope. He just doesn't care. He just keeps forgetting that that's like the whole thing. And he turns into Venom so that he can dance with Mrs. Chen in Las Vegas at one point. And you're like, what is happening in this movie? But I think that's the whole thing about this. Like everything I'm describing, you could easily hate every single thing that's happening in this movie. Or you could embrace that somehow we made it 3 movies with this absurd cast of characters. And they do have this weirdly consistent continuity among their 3 movies. And I don't know, man. For some reason, I just decided to just like lower my bar and just enjoy myself. And it's quite fun. And then
amazing things happen when you do that.
Yeah. And then at a certain point, obviously all the multicolored symbiotes get popped out and they start helping Venom. So you end up with an army of symbiotes that are all helping Venom. Also, you learn that the xenophages are like living garbage disposals. So they start eating up the soldiers and then shooting out a spray of blood out the back. It's pretty nuts, dude. Like it's a ridiculous movie. I can't even I can't. But I think the funniest thing for me about that movie is all the people leading up to that movie coming out. When I was watching all my different nerd podcasts or nerd people on TikTok and wherever else, everybody was starting to get excited about Venom 3 because they're like, hey, I think they're gonna do it finally. I think Spider-Man's gonna show up. And I was like, how do you guys keep doing this? How are we 3 movies deep and you still keep thinking Sony's going to do this to you? So I laughed my ass off because the post-credit scene of this movie is not Spider-Man. It is a silly joke with that bartender from the beginning of the movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man at all. And yeah, they're not going to do it. They don't have a reason to do it. They don't need to do it because you keep paying them to go see Venom, even though there's absolutely no Spider-Man and no spider on his chest. And
I wonder if they can get away with like that'd be kind of cool having like the Sony Spider-Man be a guy in a suit, but just like a voice. Because like Venom, I mean, I guess good Venom stories, Venom knows where Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but he doesn't need to know that for like the first couple movies, right? Like a movie where Venom's doing Venom shit and then Spider-Man just comes kicks his ass, and it's just a Spider-Man.
I don't. At this point, I don't really want. I don't want Spider-Man to be tainted by this universe. I like this Venom movie because it is equally as absurd as the previous Venom movies. In fact, it's probably more absurd. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just, dude, there is a scene in this movie that's like Venom and this group of hippies are just singing David Bowie in the back of a van for like 2 minutes. And you're like, what is happening in this movie? It's a fever dream. The whole damn movie is a fever dream. I highly recommend you go watch it if you want to see something that you've never seen before.
I'll go watch it. I'll find time for it.
It's a fever dream.
I need to close out that trilogy.
It's crazy. It's definitely better than Carnage. I liked it better than that movie.
That's a good bar to clear.
Yeah. But there you go. I like it. It's probably a solid C in my book, like a 7. It's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for sure. It's not a great Marvel movie at all, but it's a fun movie about this other. It's a fun movie about this character called Venom that is in no way related to the Venom that you know from the comic books. It's just not.
Let's pivot. Let's pivot the Penguin because Agatha's over, so we can end on that. But we got two episodes of the Penguin to cover: episode 5, episode 6, where Sofia Gigante is starting to make her moves.
Gigante or Gigante? I don't know.
Gigante is starting to make her moves by teaming up with the Maronis to take down Oz Cobb. His gang doesn't have a name, right? It's just the Penguin Gang, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember. Homecoming was the episode from 2 weeks ago. It was after that amazing episode that we got where we got to learn all of Sophia's backstory, and then we catch back up, and this is after Oz has left her high and dry to get away after the Maronis almost killed them both. And then Oz ends up finding a secret base.
Yeah, he finds his base in the
to grow the shrooms and set up the operation, and Crown Heights. They're establishing Crown Heights, right? That's really the really crappy neighborhood in Gotham. And it's meanwhile, I think Sophia was trying to build up the empire like with Maroni. And then I can't remember like any of the big moments from that episode because it's been 2 weeks, but
Well, the big moment is Sophia kills her. She kills basically her uncle, right?
Oh yeah. After he calls in all the henchmen, right?
Mm-hmm.
He calls all the henchmen, and then after she's gotten him to do that, then she just kills him in front of them and says, like, I'll never treat you like the way my family did. Like everything is going to be shared across the board. And I was pretty shocked by that moment. Thank you for reminding me.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
But leading into the next episode, the most recent episode, we get to see kind of the flip side on Oz building his crew. And it's kind of cool how they're both aware of each other building up like their little armies or their little gang war turfs. But Oz is playing all of this. He's obviously trying to unite everyone else, against them because, that's the only way they're all going to survive. But this show, man, just keeps the tether it has on Oz, and you love him in one scene and then you hate him in another. It's just amazing that carrot on a stick on how gross he is as a character. But the scenes with his mom are beautiful. And
if I remember correctly, the episode 6 Gold Summit actually it fast forwards, right? It's fast forwarded in time a few weeks or so, right? Like because the like Maroni and Sophia are just kind of frustrated because they keep hearing about Oz popping up every now and then he just constantly vanishes, and so they can't find him. And he's amassed a giant collection of these shrooms again, right? Like these special mushrooms that he's using to sell on the street. And so you get to see Oz has a full-on crew now, and Vic is getting pressured by that guy that we saw in the previous episode, like the guy that was Vic's bully at one point, right? Kind of. And Vic has to kill a dude. He has to kill a dude in this episode.
And it sucks. He has to kill him. It hurts Vic, but again, back to the give and take of Oz. Like Oz, like he tells Oz about this guy, and it's like, all right, you got to handle it, and then he does, and he doesn't tell Oz that he like killed him.
Oz knows he killed him.
Oz knows, and Oz doesn't cheer him on. He doesn't like bro him up. He like, all right, kid, you know what? You did what you had to do. Take the day off. Get a good meal. Burn your clothes. Like the most helpful post-murder advice you could give.
You and I have a very different recollection of that experience, because the only part I remember is him leaning into that kid and whispering in his ear, "It gets easier."
Yeah, well, he consoles him. He consoles him in this like very.
But he's telling him it gets easier to kill humans, like every time. Like,
I would expect that from the penguin. I didn't take that the way you took it. I mean, I thought it was a very like for what it is, a very touching scene of like him recognizing the trauma that just happened to Vic.
Yeah, I don't think mental health is his chief priority here. I think
it is.
Okay, all right. Agree to disagree.
Vic, I think Vic's growing on Oz. That's why it's probably going to suck when one of them has to kill each other at some point.
Vic ain't making it past this show. All right, that ain't happening. It's no way. This is not a Jesse Pinkman story.
But even then, we get to see like the shine in Oz's eye, because he's kind of gets to the point where he dreamed about at the very beginning of. He's helping Crown Point. He's hiring these people. He's giving them money. They're respecting him. They're looking up to him. He's like, don't tell anyone we're down here, because then it ruins it for everybody. Everyone's like, yeah, like he's kind of running the show in his own way, and he's respected. So I'm interested to see how he fights for it in these next coming episodes. But this show just doesn't miss a beat. I will say it's going to be really hard when we get the next Batman movie and everyone just stops cursing.
Okay, yeah. So two things about what you just said right now. Mm-hmm. One, I will say the show is missing a beat in that, like, Sophia killed so many people and Batman is nowhere to be found still. It's getting kind of weird. It's getting weird how many people are getting murdered. It's reaching Batman levels of
why it got weird? So the October October 30 for Halloween was yesterday, which was a Thursday. The opening monologue of the Batman is he says it's Thursday, Halloween. So that clip was going around YouTube or socials yesterday of people playing that clip, like, oh, because he can play it because he's saying it's Thursday and it's Halloween. And I don't know if you remember, but that movie opened with criminals walking around Gotham. Everyone's in a mask.
Halloween, yeah.
And on Halloween, and they're
I know because it's based on the Long Halloween.
But they're committing crimes, but as they're committing the crimes, they're looking over their shoulder. They're looking in the dark alley, right? Like,
yeah,
oh shit, he might be there. They see the bat signal, they're like thinking about like, oh man, do I commit this crime? And that level of fear has already been established in Gotham at this point. So to see these crime boss people do some of the most heinous shit and not be phased by Batman.
Thank you. Well, so that's why I was like, has it really not missed a beat? Like, I think internally, if the show was in vacuum, this show is awesome, right? But guys, I saw the police chief from the Batman show up at Sophia's house. Like you're still trying to maintain an internal consistency with the movie that also existed. And I'm sorry, there's a Cape vigilante that is on a very serious mission to clean up Gotham City, and I just don't see how all of this is flying under his radar. I don't get it. Like that's my one beef. It's kind of reached an escalation level that is so high that I need to have an explanation of why Batman's not messing with this whole thing. But I did hear some fun news that hopefully it doesn't ruin things for you. I have heard that Matt Reeves is planning to heavily feature the Penguin and Sophia Falcone in the next Batman movie.
I would hope.
Well, that makes me feel good to know that Sophia is not going to eat it by the end of this movie, or by the end of the show, which does mean that Vic will. There's like,
I think Vic lives in there's a lane where Vic lives.
All right.
We'll see. But this show becomes it's becoming a bright spot of my week to just have this awesome Batman show that has
adults.
No Batman. Well, it has no Batman, but it's
but yeah,
it's a little more nuanced. It's not punches and gunfights every week. It's these dynamics of the crime family in Oz and all of the spinning plates that he has going on, and how it's just a beautiful show. Like there's so much in it that's just not what you would expect out of a Batman show.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted this kind of stuff out of a Batman show, so I can't say it's stuff I wouldn't expect. It's just I wouldn't expect it from Warner Brothers because they're so bad at managing these properties. But like anybody who's been a fan of Batman for like the last 20, 30, 40 years, they see that it's there. It's the elements of good story have always been there, and it's nice to see that people like capable hands are now in charge of these stories, and we can see them brought to life on screen. So but yeah, I get your point about the swearing. It's going to be weird, but I think the context matters, and that like we see the swearing a lot right now, and it seems natural because we're living in the dirt. We're living constantly in that world right now. But when you're living in Batman's world, it's different, right? It's gonna, and I do appreciate that we're seeing it through the eyes of the Penguin and Sophia, and we get to see Gotham differently than when we see it at Batman's looking at it as a macro level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the Penguin and Sophia, they live in this little microcosm of that world, so but yeah, I totally enjoy it, and sadly, because Agatha is over now, it is the only thing I have to look forward to as far as my nerdy comic book adaptations go for the next few weeks. So I'm down for the ride. I still love this show a lot, and I have not been disappointed ever since, ever since we got past episode 2. Episode 2 was a little weird for me, but ever since then, I'm good to go. With that said, I know we're probably going to go a little over, but can we talk about the 3 great episodes of Agatha All Along that we got?
3 great episodes of Agatha All Along.
Did you not watch 3 great episodes?
I watched 3 good episodes. I don't know if they're great.
3 good episodes.
I'll ask you this. Did the show stick the landing for you?
Wow, we're just going straight there. You don't even want to talk about Lilia's episode that had a 9.2 on IMDb. Do you know that it is the second highest rated Marvel TV episode other than the finale?
That was a great episode. I didn't really like that episode at first when on first pass. I thought it was a little too on the nose with it's told out of order, not a sequence, because it's revealed that Lilia perceives time differently.
I don't think it was revealed. I think we've known that for a while now. But I guess it was revealed for anybody who didn't realize that.
But yeah. I really did like it started tying up this show in a neat way and giving purpose to a lot of some of the weirder aspects of that had occurred. And it was just really neat to see closure to her character and acceptance on what she is and her role in the coven. It was a really, really neat thing.
That was a powerful episode, man. I thought they used Patti LuPone to the fullest in that episode. I was so happy with the way that episode played out. And I couldn't believe that how overshadowed the beauty of that episode was by their poor choice to use the same song that Quicksilver used in X-Men Days of Future Past. Was it? I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
The Time in a Bottle song, because I saw so many people freaking out, getting into theory crafting. That's they use Quicksilver's song. It's got to mean something. And I'm like, or
people are worse.
Or hear me out. It just means that is a very appropriate song for Lilia's story. You know what I mean? And it is. It's a beautiful song for Lilia. And so I just wanted to put that out there. That episode was fantastic. I loved it all the way through. I loved watching the reveal for everybody who hadn't picked up on what was going down, that she was constantly experiencing time simultaneously or out of order, however you want to put it. She was like Dr. Manhattan. I guess I've seen enough characters in comic books do that kind of thing to not be surprised by it. But it was fun to see her do it. And to her to have a nice noble sacrifice for the sake of protecting Billy and Agatha and all that. So fast forward to this week, we got 2 episodes.
Yeah, I got the 2 episode finale.
Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End. And then we also got what would be considered. So that episode was the penultimate episode. And I just want to point out, it's really funny because normally the penultimate episode of a Marvel TV show is usually the last time we get really good story before the final episode, which is a giant CG clusterfuck. That's usually what we get. And I was really proud of them for this episode because they did not go ham on the CG. They didn't go crazy with a battle. They just went hard on story, but they also did resolve the climax of the story in that episode so that we could have a proper denouement in episode 9 where it's just filling in the rest of the story and what comes after, which we normally don't get in these shows because they try to save everything till the very end, right? The big
I didn't love the I would have maybe reversed them in my That's just me.
Wow. That's not proper
Not
storytelling, though. That's a denouement comes after the climax.
I
That's
don't want no denouement in my Disney Marvel shows. Like it's spoon feed me the fights. It's not what I'm here for. I expect I expect that out of the Penguin.
okay. That's not fair.
But I did like the
Fair at all.
penultimate episode. I I I was a little annoyed. No one else showed up. I will say when Death and Agatha show up on a planet, maybe someone else might be there. Like, right? Like,
I mean, it was only for like 5 minutes.
I know, but like,
What do
especially
you
after what had happened in Westview, I would have maybe like someone else to be
you mean
there.
when nobody showed up for a while?
I mean, but they're the bubble. They're the bubble. They're the reason.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody was hanging out outside the bubble because they
Yeah.
knew. I'm saying that whole scene, that sequence took place in 5 minutes. That's so
Yeah,
like I don't know.
I enjoyed that sequence. I enjoyed the trial that they did before, and that the freeing of Jennifer Kale. Well, I didn't know I didn't realize she was a known entity in Marvel until
They actually all are. They're all characters from the comics.
Mhm.
I don't know them, but apparently Jennifer Kale is most closely associated with Ghost Rider.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
cousins, right?
something like that. Yeah.
I thought her getting her power back was really cool when she flew off in the sunset, and
We don't even know where she went. She just
she didn't win.
disappeared. She just disappeared and never showed up again. Yeah.
And then we see Tommy, or
Billy.
We see Billy kind of find a body for Tommy. Like it's a little vague on what exactly happened there, but
no, we watched the kid drown to death, and then the assumption is Tommy's going to go into that body now. Yeah. But that's for another time. That story's for another time. Yeah.
And then Agatha kind of accepting what she is. And so but it all sets it up really nicely. So when she goes and fights Rio at the end, right? It's not like this grandiose thing. It's this very beautiful, like kind of battle, kind of not. I think they did a really good job of presenting Rio for what she is, just a force of nature. And death is death. Like everyone dies. We all die. And to see Agatha almost like accept that was a beautiful thing in a little bit.
Really? That's what you got out of that.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Say your piece. Say your piece.
All right. What I see happening in the show was the exact thing I've been saying this entire show. When at the very end of that last episode, when the second to last episode, when Billy is home and he starts looking around his room and he's realizing, wait, all this shit looks familiar, which, I mean, duh. I mean, obviously it all looked familiar to us anyways, like when she was dressed as the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz, and we all recognized all of it, the whole time. But what was so fun in that very end of that second the 8th episode was when you hear Agatha, her voice at the very end, and you realize, guys, it was Agatha all along. Duh. Like, and that's what I've been saying. I've been saying she will always be the big bad of this show because the title was there. And so anybody that was theory crafting all this other stuff, you're overthinking it. It was always going to be Agatha. And I really appreciated that about the following episode, the Maiden Mother Crone episode, where we got to see the first half hour was just this amazing, or maybe it was less than a half hour, but the first half of the episode was this amazing, like, movie quality story about her journey with Nicholas Scratch and the bargain that she made with Rio all those hundreds of years ago, because that kid was running on borrowed time, and Rio made a promise or Agatha made a promise to Rio at the end of at the trial in the 8th episode, which said, okay, but when I die, like, I'll give you Billy, but when I die, a long, 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 long time from now, I don't want to see your face. Right. And you saw, even without knowing the full context of the story between Agatha and Rio, you saw that she was hurt. Rio was hurt in that moment. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really fun that that we got to see in the episode that followed, just what everything meant to Agatha, what Nicholas Scratch meant to Agatha, what Billy meant to Agatha, because Billy was the one person, if you remember, he was pretty consistent about that through this whole show. Every time all the other girls in the coven were trash talking Agatha, he was always like, I don't know, I think she's kind of sweet. Like he was always finding some good quality in her that no one else would. And they would always call him out on it and be like, why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep defending him? And it was so sweet to see why Agatha would sacrifice herself for Billy. And it's because she really did see the similarities between him and her son, even though I don't think it was a genuine sacrifice, because if you remember, the bargain that I mentioned was, I don't ever want to see your face. Well, what did we learn in the previous episode, right? When we saw Alice die, we see that Death's job is to come and collect the soul and bring it to the afterlife, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's her job. That's what she does over time and time again. Every time someone dies, Death has to show up and take the souls to where they go. But if the promise is that she'll never see her face, then that means Death can never come to take Agatha to the next place. And so she did say it's a calculated risk, but I think Agatha's plan was to be a ghost walking Earth eternally. And that's why she made that deal. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a complete.
And that's a comic thing too, right? She
Agatha is frequently a ghost in the comics. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me so happy to see a finally comic accurate Agatha Harkness.
She looked a lot older.
She became the crone, right? So we got to see in that episode, we got to see her maiden stage, we got to see her mother stage, and then we got to see her as the crone finally. The crone becomes the mentor type person and stuff. So, but I just thought it was a beautiful episode that showed us why she became a serial killer of witches, right? Which is because as long as, I think internally in her head, as long as she kept killing people, or killing witches, Death wouldn't come for Billy. Or sorry, I mean Nicholas, right? And it's just so happens, it's so coincidental that the one day she doesn't kill witches because Nicholas just wants a day off, that's the day Death comes for him, and so I thought that was really cool, because I don't feel that the show ever did the dangerous thing of making you feel like, oh, Agatha is good.
They root her trauma into something that's just very real and
relatable and believable. But it doesn't rob her of being a villain. She can still be a villain, but be understandable, right? Like just like Thanos or Kingpin or Loki. They can be villains. Well, I think Loki eventually just redeemed himself, right? I don't think Loki's a villain anymore, right? That's kind of like his whole thing. But Thanos and Kingpin, they're gonna keep being villains always. They're never gonna not be villains. But it's cool that we get to understand them. You know what I mean? And so I really appreciated that last episode, because we fully got to understand Agatha and her motivations and why she did the thing she did for Billy too. You know what I mean? And I just thought they stuck the landing harder than most MCU projects to date. I think I could do a hot take argument that says probably She-Hulk stuck the landing better. But I know that most people would get really angry.
Well, they put us they again we rate these shows on where the chips fall at the end of them. All right, we get a Agatha mentor Agatha, right? We're on the search for the brother. We know there's a Vision show somewhere out there. So
the rumor is Tommy's going to be showing up in that show.
Yeah, so I like this trilogy that we're getting. It's very unique to this show, but I think they do pay good enough respects to where those characters are and what those characters are mean in the comics. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to see us working towards that way. Like it's really neat, like long form story to get this family back. So when we do finally get a Wanda back, it's impactful, it's meaningful, it's gonna mean something.
Yeah, but I also think the important thing is, like, because of that, the reason I like that 9th episode is because if we were to just end the show on the 8th episode, it was all for Billy, right? Like, mm-hmm. it's kind of insulting to fans of Agatha and to fans of a story that is a very woman-centric story. It's kind of insulting that if it just ends with her propping up the one man in the story, right?
I mean,
that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing when you can't,
when you put it like that. Yes,
when you can't pass the Bechdel test in your climactic scene.
You put it in another. I don't think it's as bad as you make it sound, given the context of the character that she uplifted.
It is, because it doesn't. There's not enough context at that point to justify it. But what I'm saying is that 9th, like, epilogue episode where we get to see and learn how much that decision was really about her and mm-hmm. not so much about Billy, right? It was about her more than anything else. She was being true to herself, and she was being true to what she cared the most about, which is Nicholas. And she sees Nicholas in Billy. But more importantly, also, I think she was always intending to not actually die, like die, permadeath, mm-hmm. from the decision she made. So she kind of pulled one over on death, right? By making this deal. Because I mean, we saw just in that episode, she learned how to do ghost stuff like really fast, right? Even faster than she planned to. So she's already able to manipulate physical objects as a ghost, which is more than I think Doctor Strange has been able to do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she's pretty freaking powerful.
Though, right?
He's the same thing. When he's in astral form, he's separating his spirit from his body. That is essentially a ghost. It's just his body's not dead. Do you know what I mean? So we've seen it before. So this isn't even like the first time we've seen a spirit walking around. So it actually fits more in the continuity
of a Doctor Strange versus Agatha. Is that a quick fight?
No, I don't think that's a quick fight, because you got to realize, like, Doctor Strange's magic looks nothing like Agatha's, right? And it's because mm-hmm. if you want to get into the D&D of it, it's the difference between a sorcerer and is it a warlock or a, you know, like, or many of the other mm-hmm. A sorcerer is a book smart magic, right? Which we know that's how Doctor Strange learned all his magic. He read all the books ever. He's basically House, right? Everything mm-hmm. he reads, he remembers. But Agatha's is very elemental magic, right? It comes from the energies of the earth and everything. And so, I wouldn't put it past us. Like, here's the thing. This show is so freaking popular for Disney Plus these last few weeks. I would not be surprised if they start dumping Agatha into everything. Like, if you think that we're not going to get a post-credit scene in Fantastic Four with Agatha showing up to answer the job call for a nanny.
I mean, that's a different universe technically, but
it's not going to be by the end of the movie.
You're assuming there's kids by the end of that movie.
I am assuming there's kids by the end of that movie. I'm assuming at the rate Marvel's going, they're gonna have an epilogue that is 5 years later, and here's their kids, and then like we need a nanny. You know, they got to start skipping years at some point, right? Because they bought themselves like 5 years of cushion, right? But then COVID happened, and so like we're pretty much caught up to their timeline again, aren't we? Their post Endgame
they're like
timeline.
still in. I think they're still like a couple years ahead of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm not sure they are at this point anymore, because Endgame ended in what 2000 was it 2018?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the year in that world is supposed to be 5 years later, right? But here we are.
Agatha takes place in the present day. MCU is 2026.
2026.
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of time. We're running out of runway.
I don't know. Yeah, it won't matter. It won't all. It's all not going to matter once RDJ comes down and takes off the mask and says, "You know, darn you, Fantastic Four." And then Sam Wilson says, "Avengers assemble," and then everyone comes out.
Your version of this movie sucks.
And as they exit the stage, they each collect $1 million check.
You know how long it took for Chris Evans to ever say "Avengers assemble" in the Avengers in the Marvel universe?
You think they're gonna make Sam Wilson wait?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
does he not get that right?
I think it's not about making Sam Wilson wait. It's about making the audience wait. And they love making us wait. As a reminder, Daredevil still doesn't have 2 D's on his chest, man. They're going to make us wait. He's
not Daredevil in the show, technically, right? He's just a vigilante known as the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. Or do they reference him as Daredevil?
No, they start calling him Daredevil by the end of the first season. In the newspapers. Yeah. Yeah, they give him that name, I think.
They give him the D's.
Well, they just give him the Daredevil name, I think. So, but in any case, like,
isn't Daredevil technically one word? So why does he have 2 D's?
Because he's blind, bro.
He's not illiterate. He has a law degree.
Yeah, but it's also not Braille that's written on his chest. He's got actual letters on his chest. Like, I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah, he's technically not blind.
None of it makes sense, but it's cool. All right. But in any case,
well, the yellow suit just has a big D, right?
The yellow suit had 1 D. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a choice.
2 Ds. Yeah. It's a choice. It's a choice to do 2. Anyways, I just want to like recap. Like, I love Agatha so much. I think it was a consistently wonderful show to watch every week.
I'm happy that you enjoyed it, because like you did not want to do a show for this thing.
I didn't want to do it. I was so against this show existing, and now I'm here for it. Catherine Hahn just served up amazing every week. Joe Locke made me a fan of Wiccan by the end of that show. You know what I mean? Like, he was actually a really interesting character as the show kept going and going. Like, I was like, okay, this is actually the most interesting young Avenger right now in the Marvel universe. And so, yeah, I think I'm really happy to see where this new duo, this crazy magic duo that's quite powerful, by the way, they're going to go off and do other stuff. And I also really like that just Agatha got to do WandaVision again with the sun. You know what I mean? That's basically what happened. He wasn't even aware that the road manifestation was all stuff happening from his own psyche, you know, his own subconscious. So she was just nurturing that the way she nurtured Wanda and created all these reality TV show, you know, episodes that happened. So that's why she gives that look, right? When she finally realizes, oh God, I know who you are. right when the Road appears, because the Road is a hoax. The Road has never existed. And that was amazing to see that it was Agatha all along, that she invented the Road. And I did think it was really interesting when she said the Road never meant anything. Well, it's like, well, you're kind of lying again, because it did mean something. It meant something very special to you and your son. You know what I mean? But like, I get for the purposes of who she's explaining it to, it's not a real thing. And so that was just chef's kiss for me. Like those 2 episodes together, I loved them so much. So Penguin's got a big job ahead of itself.
Well, we get to just talk about Penguin next week as we wrap this thing up. How many? We have 2 more episodes of Penguin.
I think we got 2 more of Penguin.
2 more episodes of Penguin, and then I guess at some point we'll start talking about What If. They dropped them all last Christmas, right?
They did. That was a bit much.
I feel like we're gonna get the same thing again.
We're probably gonna get them all dropped on us again. Yeah. So. But it was fun.
It was fun. I'm happy it existed. I'm happy that you liked it. Happy that we got to talk about it. And I can't wait for what's the next after What If? Captain America.
Spider-Man.
Captain America, February. Oh, Spider-Man January, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then Captain America.
Yeah, no, I was really bummed, because I thought that Daredevil was the next thing, and then Disney just surprised me with like all these things that go in between, and I was like, wow! And I get to watch Deadpool and Wolverine a bunch, like in a few weeks.
I saw those toys that got released too, the Cap figures.
They got put out on pre-order. Yeah, I like weird thing, but like
the Hulk is weird.
I am temporarily pausing my collecting of these toys, and I am weirded out when I see how many more times Hasbro can find a way to not include a Build-A-Figure by just making half a wave of 3 figures.
Those are big figures, though. They're big. The wings make them big.
But they also coincidentally made a half a wave of Deadpool and Wolverine figures. They just keep finding a way now to sell you individual figures that don't include a bath.
Hey, man.
Yeah. But I see it this way, is like I have so many figures in my collection. I can take a break from it, and then I can have fun collecting them all over again when the time is right, so we'll see. But
we will see, and we will see you guys next week. And with that, true believers,